Hello friends, welcome to TestNG Framework Training Session 16. This is Haradhan once again as usual. Today in this session I will discuss how we can pass parameters, single parameters, multiple parameters in the TestNG XML file and how we can use them in any TestNG class and for any test annotation or any test case. Thank you all for watching my videos. In case you are enjoying my videos and learning automation testing and Java, please like and share my videos. Do not forget to subscribe my channel and press the bell icon so that you will get notification as and when I will upload any new videos. Do not forget to provide your valuable comment for any input or suggestion. Stay tuned for my next videos. One of the important feature of TestNG is parameterization, right? Sometimes whenever some of the value is fixed all the time, right? So instead of hard coding, we can set as a parameter, right? Them so that as and when required, we can instead of every time hard coding changing the hard coding value, we can use them in the form of parameter, right? Just suppose whenever you want to execute some test case for a particular website, right? So website URL will be there, right? User ID will be there, password will be there. So this will be constant all the most of the time, right? So instead of writing every time URL, password and username, you can set those value as a parameter, right? And you can call the parameters variables, right? So it will obviously help us to design the code as well as to debug the code very easily, right? Instead of writing multiple times, we can one single time in the TestNG XML file we can write them and we can use the value or name of the parameter, right? These features allow user to pass parameters to test as argument, right? So we'll pass the parameter in the form of argument. This is supported by using the TestNG @parameters annotation, right? So there are a lot of annotation is there in the TestNG, right? At the before before test, test, right? So parameters will be another annotations which used for declaring any parameters. The @parameters annotation can be used for any of the before, after, factorial and test annotated methods. So for all type of methods, the parameters annotation can be used. It can be used to initialize variables and use them in a class test or maybe as a whole test execution, right? So whenever some of the particular user ID or URL will common in nature, so we'll be using the parameters. But in case particular attribute, right, will not be in common, only it will be used one time, so we will not use the parameter, right? So there is no point, right? So you can use that hard coded value, right? But whenever same attribute or same properties will be used multiple times, we can proceed with the parameterization, so it will reduce the overall effort. In case user need to pass some simple values such as string types to the test method at runtime, user can use this approach of sending parameters value through TestNG XML configuration file. User have to use @parameter annotation for passing parameter values to the test method, right? First, you need to open the TestNG XML file, then you need to add row, right? Parameters. You need to add some names and value. So if you want to enter multiple parameters, you have to use multiple rows, right? And whenever you are creating a class and in the class there is a test annotation, it can be before, after, like factory also, that after that or before that you can use the parameters. If you want to pass single parameters, you can use first bracket, then second bracket, and then double inverted comma. You need to give the parameters name. Then you need to give the method names. Then you need to, based on the data type of the parameter, you need to pass the data type and use the parameters name one by one. In case multiple, after that you can perform the operation of the parameter, right? So parameter can be declared at the should level and the test level as well, right? So anything is fine. So if you want to declare should level, it will be still work, and if you want to declare the test level, it will work. But what will happen if you define the same parameter in the should level and the test level? Okay, so should level will be discarded and your test level parameter will be taken into the consideration. It will taken into the consideration. So your priority will be the test level. In case same parameters is available in the should level and test level, So your should label will be discarded and your test label will be taken into the consideration. Okay, so that is the important aspects of parameters. So I will show you how you can create the parameters, right? So here I already created a TestNG class, TestNG parameters, right? So here at the rate test annotation. So if you declared want to, I mean, suppose I am creating the method as parameter, right? And here if you want to print anything, suppose I want to print test, right? So if you run the code from here, it will be giving you the output, right? One test case is passed and your right parameter and output is getting passed, right? Here you can enter some parameter test or test I can, okay, no, okay, I will not pass. Okay, so now in the TestNG XML file, right? So if you want to run that particular class, right, through TestNG XML file, the class name is TestNG parameters and package name is package2, right? So you have to change it, right? Right? So should name you can change it to test parameter and test name you can change it to parameters. Okay, and here the class name will be package name dot class name, right? So that is your class name. Okay, so it's already saved. Now if you want to run from the TestNG XML file, you need to right select the TestNG XML file, run as. You can see right now it is coming as TestNG should, because from the TestNG XML you can run multiple classes, multiple packages at the same time. So output is still same, right? You can see the in the TestNG, I mean that is the right your should name, which is the test parameters, and test name is parameters, right? And package name or class name, and your method name is parameters here. Okay, this is the method name parameters and output is test. Here it's coming. Okay, now if you want to use some parameters, right, and if you want to use that parameter multiple times, say, okay, so what you need to do here, you need to define the parameters. Parameter can be defined at the should levels and or can be defined at the class test level as well, right? That is the syntax. Okay, parameter name, then you need to give any parameter name, that is the syntax. Parameters name, you need to give any parameter name. Suppose I am giving the parameter name is parameter 1. Okay, and the first parameter value, that is the value, it will be displayed. Okay, so here I have defined the parameters, right? Now if you want to use that in the test class, so you have to use the syntax, right? So in the test class you can use the parameters before the annotation or after the annotation, does not matter, right? Okay, so you need to use the same name. Okay, otherwise it will display some error. Whatever name you are giving, you need to use the same name at under at the rate parameters annotations. Okay, so here I will use only one simple parameters. Okay, you can see some error message is coming. You need to import parameters from org.testng.annotation, not the bust j command. You have to import it from org.testng.annotation, right? So error message is gone, right? Okay, so that's parameter whatever defined I will be using. So value is that first parameter value, right? Now here you need to pass, right? So it is a string. You can see the value is string format, so you need to declare here the string variable string parameter 1. Okay, and if you want to display the value here. Suppose value parameter 1 value is I want to display here, and you need to just use the variables, right? Let's run the code and let's see what is happening. Parameter 1 value is displaying or not, right? So here I have defined the value of the parameters 1 here, test first parameter value, right? That is my value. And here under parameters I am using the same parameter name, not the value. So value will be displayed. So you have to use the same parameter name whatever you are using, right? Okay. And here you can you can change the parameters value. Okay, you need to give the same data type, and here you can change anything, but that will be defined to that only, right? Here it multiple, so first one will be defined to first one, and second one it will be mapped to second one, obviously. So I am passing that particular pr1 variable, and I want to print the variables value. So let's run the code and see. Here you need to run it from using TestNG XML file, right? Run as TestNG suite. Okay, you can see parameter 1 value is first parameter value, right? So that's why you can check, define any parameters, and you can use it. Because why you are using it? Suppose there is a multiple test cases there, right? And you need to use the same parameter. So instead of writing multiple times, I will be writing single time, and I will be using multiple time. So here I am creating another method. Okay, parameters 1. So you can see this two method is created. Here I am also parameter 1, and value will be coming from my TestNG XML file, right? So similar way, if you want to change it to PR2 also still fine, or PR1 will also be fine. Okay, now let's run this code and let's see. So I am using the same parameter multiple times. That is the reason, instead of writing here multiple time, I already defined in the TestNG XML file name as parameter 1 and value is something. Okay, and it will be printed out, right? So if you select and if you run as TestNG suite, so two test cases will be run. You can see parameter 1 value is for the two test cases coming, right? Total number of two test cases, parameter 1. Now if you change that particular parameter annotations after the test, so it will not be any impact. So anything is fine, right? So here I am using parameter after the test, and one I am using before the test, right? So if you run it again, so your result will be still the same. So it does not matter whether you are changing the right order of the parameters annotations. You can see total number of test cases passed every time it is right printing. Now here whatever we have defined at the suite level, right? If you want to define at the test level, so what will be happen? It will not have any impact, right? So I want to use at the test level. Okay, now let's save it and let's run the code and let's see what is happening. So you can see nothing is getting impacted, right? So first parameter value is coming. Okay, now use the same parameters both at the test level and the right suite level. So in case value is same, so there will be no problem, right? So here value is same. If you run the code, so you can see there will be no impact. Only the value, only one common value will be coming here. So there will be no impact, right? First parameters value. Okay, now change the value. So here I am changing that first parameter value, first parameter at suite level, and here I am changing it to first parameter at this level. So what will happen? So here the parameter is same, right? At the suite level and the test level, right? But to test the value is different. Now let's run the code and let's see what is happening here. So whenever the same parameter will be there and the value will be different, so your test level parameter value will be printed out and it will be taken place, right? Not the suite level, right? You can see the suite level parameter value is first parameter at suite level, and test level parameter value is first parameter at test level, and output is coming at test level, not the should level. So your should level will be discarded and your test level will be the printed out, right? It will be taken care. Okay. Now let's create two different, okay, method. Okay. So first one method name I am giving at addition, and the second method name I am giving as subtraction. Okay. Here I want to define two different parameters. Okay. Suppose integer 1, okay, and the value will be string, not integer. I want to define the value as integer, not the string. Suppose integer 1 value is 20, and I want to define another here integer 1, okay, or maybe value 1. Okay, so that is my parameters. Value 1 equal to value equal to 20, okay, or data 1. Okay, name is data 1, value equal to 20. I am defining another parameters. Okay, so say name data 2 and value equal to suppose 8. Okay, I have defined two parameters here. One is data 1 and one is data 2, right? Now here, so I want to add these two data, right? So here you need to give the parameters name by comma 1, right? Comma data 1, comma data 2. Parameters name you have to pass it. Okay. So here it will be not the string, it will be integer. I can define int 1 and int 2, right? Okay. Now if I want to print the value of int, I am defining another variable here. Suppose int 3 equal to int 1 plus int 2. Okay. Now if I want to print int 3, why the error message is coming? Variable declared or id to complete formal parameters. Okay, so I have to made integer. Okay, so for the two value I have to make it integer. Okay, here I also need to make integer int 3, right? So let's remove that line of that particular code, or let discard, add block. Okay, and here so one method is there, right, which is the addition. Okay, so here I have declared, let's save the code. I have declared two different parameters. One is the data 1, one is the data 2, and value to data 1 is 20 and value of the data 2 is 8, right? So both are at the should level. Okay, so I am creating a test case where I am passing the both the parameters, right? I am creating a methods additions where I want to pass sum the two parameters and I want to print it out, right? I will create another test case. Instead of addition, subtraction, it will be minus sign. You can use the same parameters. Okay, name. Okay, now if you run the code and see what is happening, so you have to run, save the TestNG XML file, and you have to also save the test case, right? TestNG test case. Now if you select the testng.xml file and if you run it, run as TestNG should, right? So what happens? Both the test case will be run and your value will be printed out here, right? You can see the first is the summation part, right? Integer 1 and integer 2, data 1 and data 2, and second is the subtraction part. So whatever parameter I have declared here, right? Data value is 20 and 8. So sum is 20 plus 28 equal to 28, and subtraction is 20 minus 8 equal to 12, right? So both the test cases is passed, and I mean my value is also correctly appearing, right? Now let's define the same parameters in the test level as well. Okay, and just change the value. Suppose I am changing the value as 100, and data 2 I am changing the value as suppose 50 or 40. So what will happen? So what value it will take right now? So obviously it will take the value from the test level, not the should level, right? If you run it again, you can see. So obviously the first summation will be coming as 140 and subtraction will be 60, right? So it is value is taking from the test level. Okay. So in case same parameter is found in the should level and the test level, and the value is different, so value will be taken from the test level, not the right should level, right? So why we are using the parameter? When the same data set need to be used in multiple test case, so instead of defining there multiple times, we will be declaring as a parameter, right? So any change we will change it here single time, right? We no need to change in the multiple places. That is the reason parameter is the one important feature in the TestNG, right? Suppose you have used the data 1 data 2 in 10 test cases, right? And suppose instead of 20 now you want to change is 50. So what happened? Every test cases you have to change the value, right? But if you use the parameters only, instead of 8 test cases you will change the value in one places, and all your test cases will be impacted here. So that is the reasons of using the parameters, right, for the test case. So parameters can be used before test annotations or after test annotation, right? So here I am using before test annotation. Let's see what is happening. Still the result will be same. It does not matter, right? Okay, let's run the code and let's see. So you have to select the TestNG XML files, and you have to right click run as TestNG should, right? So it will obviously give you the result, right? You can see 140 because at the test level your value of the data 1 is 100 and value 2 data 2 is 40. So summation is first summation is coming 140 and then subtraction 100 minus 40 equal to 60, right? So my test case is working fine. Okay. Now create a test case. Okay, at the rate test void. Okay, I want to open any web page and I want to verify the titles. So test case name is verify title, right? Okay, at the rate test annotation and verify title. While message is coming, annotation is disallowed for this location. So you have to give the packet. That is the reason it was coming it was throwing the error, right? Okay. Now here I will simply set the properties of the Chrome drivers, and I will instantiating a drivers, right? And I will maximize the driver. I will pass the URL for Google's, and I want to get the title, right? So here you have to create the instance for WebDriver. Okay. Now we have to launch. You have to import WebDriver interface from org.openqa.selenium. Similarly, we have to also import the Chrome driver class from org.openqa.selenium. Okay. Now, if you run the code, okay, so it will give you the title, right? So I am setting the properties for the Chrome drivers. I am instantiating the Chrome drivers. I am maximizing the Chrome browsers. I am passing the URL for Google's, right? And I am I want to get the titles. Okay. So now if you run it, from here TestNG XML file, so it will give you the result, the title of the page. So you can see it is opening the Chrome browsers, it is maximizing the browsers, it is passing the URL for Google's, right? And then it will print you the titles, right? You can see it is title is Google is coming, one test case pass, one test case fail. Now if you want to have multiple test case, so one is the verify title, another one is suppose divert dot get current URL. Okay, this is the two test case. So I will change get verify URL. Okay, this is the two test case. Okay, so I can run the two test case. So here I am passing the URL, right, for Google's multiple times. So if you run it, so two test cases will be run. One will print you the titles and another will print you the current URL. Now what happens in case your URL need to be changed, right? So you have to, in case your 20 test cases that you have to change it multiple times. Similarly ID password, in case one ID password got changed, right, you have to add it multiple times, right? So it is opening, right, and obviously you can see, right, your right two test cases got passed and you can see first one is coming, right, Google URL, Google and your Google. First one is coming as your titles and second one is output is coming as your current URL, and both the test cases passed, right, verify title, verify URL. Okay, and you can quit the browser instead of divert.quit, so automatically it will quit instead of quitting, closing the diver multiple times manually. Okay, now what happen if I want to change it to Facebook, Reddit, so I have to change it multiple times, right? Okay, so instead of that I will use the parameters, right? Here I can use and I can create another parameters. Okay, so suppose name I am giving as URL, okay, and value I can give based on my current need. So right now I want to change, open my Google's, so obviously I will give it my Google URL. Okay, so here I have already given it, so my name and value is fixed right now. If I want to change the value, I can change it from here, so I no need to change it multiple times in my test case, right? So here I will simply use the parameters, right? That annotation I will use before @test. I will use the parameters, right, and parameters will be your URL. Okay, and here as the URL is string, I can mention a string URL and create different variables. So here I will pass the variables instead of the URL, right? Similarly, I will use the parameters for the second test case as well, and here I will use another string URL and I can pass the URL here instead of that hard coded URL, right? So now if I want to change URL multiple times, so I don't need to change here, right? Similarly, if I have multiple field called password, username, so here you can see only we are passing the name of the parameters, right, not the value, right? So here we are creating the variables, okay, and we are passing the URL only variables, right? So we are not passing any URL here, the value here, and not any a single time, right? So we'll be, in case we need to change the value, so we'll change in the parameters value. So that's why in case the same combinations, right, same browser say same your URL, password, ID, right? Any specific thing need to be used 100 times, 500 times in all the test cases, so you can use in the parameters, right? And obviously in case it need to be changed, suppose ID need to be changed, password need to be changed, URL need to be changed, so you will update in single one time. Okay, so you no need to change multiple times. That is the advantage of the parameters, right? Now if you run the code, let's save it, and let's test in the XML, you save it, let's see what is happening, whether my output is coming or not correctly. The same way it should work, same way. Run as TestNG should. So it will try to execute the first test case first, verify titles, it will give you the titles. So it will launch the Chrome browsers, it will maximize the browser, it will pass the Google URLs, and it will close it, it will get the title, right? Google is coming, and it will again launch the browser, it will maximize the browser, it will pass the URL for Google's, and it will get the current URL and will pass the test case, it close the browser. So you can see right now two test case it is executing, right? Okay, and you can see run is 2, and you can get the details of the titles. Okay, now say if you want to change it to so Google to Facebook, right? Suppose if you want to change it to Facebook, if you want to get the titles of the Facebook, right? So you simply need to change it here. So automatically it will give you the titles and the current URL of the Facebook page. Sorry, not copied. So just I will simply change it here. So now it saves. Now if we run it, select the TestNG XML file, right click, run as TestNG should. Now say what is happening. It will open the, it will try to run the fast test case, verify titles. It will open the Chrome browser. It will maximize the browsers. It will pass the URL for Facebook right now, and it will get the titles and it will close the browsers, right? You can see the output is coming Facebook login or sign up. Again it will go for the second test case. It will open the browser, it will maximize the browser, it will pass the URL for Facebook, it will get the current URL, right? And your two test case is passed. So in case some of the value which will be fixed, okay, and you can use the parameters. So in case any point of time one particular value is need to be changed, or ID, password, URL, or browser name, so it will change in the parameters form instead of changing multiple time in the test case. 100, 500, 1000 test cases there, so you need to change it because it can be repetitive work and there can be mistakes. So if you use the parameters, so there will be less chances of mistakes and obviously less chances of repetitive work, so it will be reduced your work. Okay, that's why you can work with the different form way of parameters. You can define single parameter, you can define multiple parameters as and when required. You can define the parameter at the should levels, you can define parameter at the test levels, right? Okay, so that is the first you need to define the parameters, the TestNG XML file, and that parameter name whatever you are declaring, that names you need to should pass at the rate parameter annotations, right? And in the test in that method levels you can need to give the proper data type in case it is string or boolean or integer like that. Okay, and here you can define different variables, and obviously after that variable is declared, so using that variable you can perform any operations. And if you want to use multiple parameters, so you can use it, and parameter can be at should level and test level, but in case the same parameter is available in the should level and test level with different value, your should level will be not be considered, your test level will be considered with the priority. Okay, so that's all for today's session. Thank you.